Hello, my friends. My name is Jen, and welcome to the Book Refuge. Okay, my lovelies, today I am bringing you some Taboo romance recs. I haven't done one in a little bit, but I was looking through my list of suggested videos, and this one jumped out at me as being a fun alternative to like breeding kink, and it is, of course, birth control tampering. Okay, so that usually involves either the hero replacing pills or taking the pills, or even putting their own holes in the condoms or taking the condom off at the last minute. All things that incredibly taboo, and we would not put up with a partner in real life. That is actually assault, by the way, of someone not to use a birth control if you want one. That is assault. But here on the Taboo recommendations, we don't judge anybody for whatever their kinks or likes are in books, and this one I think is going to be fun. Obviously, most of these are dark romance, but I do have a surprise in here that is actually a woman tampering with a form of birth control. And I'll save that one for later. We'll see what you think about it. But when I was going through my list, I was like, that kind of actually works for that. But you leave it up to you. Most of these are going to be dark romance and very controlling, and they involve dub-con and non-con situations. So just be prepared for that. Check your trigger warnings for those. But most of you, if you like birth control tampering trope or, micro trope, you already know what's involved with it. So yeah. The person who recommended this is Hannah. So Hannah, if you're watching, thank you for doing this. I have also made 2 rec videos for breeding kink. So if that's more of the side you like, maybe you don't necessarily want a baby to be the result of like wanting to fill the lady up, you can check those out, because not all like breeding kink is because they want pregnant. They want to like play that they do, because it's fun. It's fun to pretend sometimes. Whereas birth control tampering is usually the woman has not consented to it, or like I said, I have one where it's the man as well. So let's start going through these. Okay, so first I have 2 from Lilith Vincent, and you will find that a couple of these, like, there's certain authors who really like this kink, so I'm gonna have pairs of it for a few. So for Lilith Vincent, we have 2 recommendations. So one of them is Fear Me, Love Me, and this is her most recent release, and it is a naughty one. This one is actually a oh shoot, now I forgot what it's called. David Bowie, what's the movie that he was in? Labyrinth. This one is a bit of a labyrinth retelling, and it involves this woman who, she's a girl when it starts, where her little brother is kidnapped by this mafia man because her family owes him money. Her father owes him money, and so she runs away and makes her way to his estate and wants to like get her brother back. And he's like, if you can make your way through the maze in my backyard, you can have your brother back. But he ends up becoming fascinated with her and how brave she is, and how she doesn't seem to be scared of him, even though literally he's like one of the baddest dudes around, right? And he becomes a little enamored with her. And he also, even though he at the beginning is absolutely willing to kill this child, he starts to feel some softness for her little brother too. Isn't he just so sweet? He's just so sweet. So he proceeds to, over the next, I think it's about a year, stalk this woman, follow her, sneak into her room, and fuck her sometimes at night, and not let her clean herself up after he leaves. Keeps himself in there. This book is in a lot of my Taboo recs. Okay, this one does have breeding kink, and it has cock warming, so you've seen this one a lot. If you're liking these kinks, you've probably already read this one too, but it definitely is full of it. So this one was very dark. I would consider this a falling for a villain story for sure. He's not even morally gray. He's black. He's morally black, but it's hot. Okay, it's a hot one. Whew. Then also by Lilith Vincent is Brutal Intentions. Now I have been told that Brutal Conquest also has it. I actually DNF'd that one because it was kind of like he was a pseudo uncle. I don't know. It just wasn't vibing for me, but I've been told that one has it too. But Brutal Intentions is actually the stepdad romance. And this one kind of worked for me because the man who marries her mom, he hates her mom. But also he's 10 years younger than her mom and 10 years older than her. So he's like kind of in between them. And he sneaks into her bedroom and touches her at night. I'm laughing at it. It's not funny, but it kind of is. And he does need to have an heir. And he decides he would rather have it with her than with the mother, because he doesn't want to be with the mother. He wants to be with her. And it'll be the same blood line if he has it with her instead. So this is his whole plan. And she's reluctant, but not for long. And yeah, this one has some other kinky stuff in it too. It's super hot. Lilith Vincent, she brings the kinks with hers, okay? I'm not interested in reverse harem stories, so I haven't read all of those, but I have read a lot of her other ones as well. So yeah, those ones are by her. Then there is also 2 from Adelaide Forrest. Adelaide Forrest also likes like breeding kink and tampering of birth control, or them just not using it at all type of thing. So the first book in the series, so this is actually the first one that I remembered having this, like remembering whenever someone said birth control tampering, I would think of this book. Even though, again, one of the ones I'm going to recommend later is actually the first one that I read. This is the one that if someone says the hero was doing that, then this is the one I would think of. So, and I think it's Mateo in that one. I'm not sure, but Bloodied Hands is the first book in the Moretti, I don't even remember the name. It's a crime syndicate one. But this was actually a kind of second chance romance of sorts. And the beginning of this book involves, there's like a bank robbery and the heroine happens to be at this bank. And when the thugs like see her, they know who she is based on her face. And they're like, please don't tell Mateo that we were here and put you in danger. Like, please don't. And they like run. And she's like, Mateo, my high school boyfriend? Like, what are you talking about? So when she ends up speaking with him and confronting him, it turns out man's been biding his time all these years, because it wasn't because he didn't love her that he had to horribly break her heart when they were young. Her life was in danger. He was forced to do that. But he still wants her very badly, and he's been biding his time. And because he wanted to make sure that she was his when the time came, he has warned everyone away from her, both good and bad men. Stay away from her. She's going to be mine. Don't touch her. So, very possessive man. And yeah, there is birth control tampering involved later on in their relationship. And then the 4th book in the series, which is actually my favorite one in the series, is Grieved Loss. And this one is actually a widow romance. But the hero, he has actually been obsessed with her for a lot longer than she's been a widow. And he's just been biding his time because her husband, he's a dirty cop. He's a fuck up. And he knows that this man isn't going to last too long. Like, he just knows it. So he's willing to wait. He's making a plan. He's biding his time. And she actually has 2 kids with her husband when he dies. And, you know, the hero just goes right along. Like, he gives her a year to grieve. Okay, very nice of him. Gives her a year to grieve. But he knows that her husband wasn't a good husband to her. He was cheating on her. He was, like we said, a dirty cop. He was involved with them. And then it's time to make his move. And he has made his home a paradise for her children. And then he takes her. And he has her family convinced that he's what's best for her. And while he loves her children, he's like, we're also going to have our own. I will love your kids as mine, but I want one as well. And so he doesn't really give her a choice in any of this. This is a kidnapping. But like, you know, you're taken to basically a castle with guards and children. And yeah. So he doesn't give her much say about it, but it's pretty hot. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, y'all. It's pretty hot. Okay. So yeah, both of those are by Adelaide Forrest. Also, Wrong by her has some of this in it as well. Yeah, like I said, Adelaide Forrest likes this. I believe the trilogy Beauty and Lies does as well. I never finished that series because I don't like that one. But a lot of people love it. Lots of dark, kinky stuff in that one. Okay, then we have... Let's see. Okay, we have some Rena Kent that has this. The Throne Duet by her. This one is Kyle... I think it's Kyle Hunter. Is it Kyle Hunter? I think so. Kyle Hunter and Rye... what's their last name? Oh, I can't remember it. But anyway, Kyle and Rye, and now she's a mafia princess, and he used to be her bodyguard. And this duet, I have actually read the first book in this duet. This was actually the duet that I like kind of stopped reading again, but I'm back on it. Okay, I love her newest series, and a lot of people love this. Someday I'll go back and try these again. But if you're looking for a birth control tampering, in the second book is when that happens. But Kyle and Rye are the parents of Nikolai, Mia, and Maya. So they have three, or well, at least two of those three are pretty important in the Legacy of the Gods series. So yeah, this starts out as he used to be her bodyguard, and now he's back, and she has been kind of in, you know, I believe she's the only daughter of her father, because there's something where like she's the heir to it, and he wants a piece of that pie as well, I guess. I don't know. They have to have a marriage, and it's enemies to lovers, ex-bodyguard, but they have hot fucking. That's what Rena Kent writes. And if you want the birth control tampering, it happens in book 2. So she has a bit of like breeding kink in the Legacy of the God series, and I believe there's some birth control tampering in that one, but I recommend the Legacy of the Gods all the time. So I thought I'd pick a different Rena Kent since I mentioned that one all the time. So there you go. Try these. The audiobooks were really good for these. That is actually how I read a lot of Rena Kent's before. Okay, now let's get into the ones that I have physical copies for. So there is Dom by S.J. Tilley. This one is the Alliance book 3, and this was one of my favorite books of, I think it was of February. I don't even know. I think it was February that the audiobook came out. And this one involves Dom, and he makes himself indispensable to Val, who is a half-sister to King, who is a member of the Alliance. Dom wants into the Alliance, and he's been rejected, and so he decides to get underhanded. So he starts watching Val, and when the opportunity arises, he slips into her life, is very charming, makes her fall for him, and tricks her into a Vegas wedding. Tricks her into it, okay? Tricks her into a Vegas wedding. And part of it is he needs to use her for his end, and he's like, she's perfect, but also he thinks she's beautiful and scrumptious, and he loves every little bit of her. And so yeah, part of it is his agenda, but also he really likes her, so we're just supposed to be okay with it. You know, we're just supposed to be okay with it, and I am okay with it. I'm okay with it. I like this a lot. But there is also him wanting to tie her to him in all ways. Like, you can see this. Her name is tattooed across his neck, and he tattoos his name on her ring finger when she refuses to wear her ring. Like, the man is psychotic, okay? He's crazy. He's crazy. Funny enough, I believe there was forced tattooing in Grieved Loss as well. Oh, that's not one I plan to do a video for, guys, because I actually don't like that. I don't like branding or like forced tattooing or piercing. Sorry, side note. But people have asked me for those ones before. I don't like that kink. And again, I no kink shaming from me, but I don't tend to make, like, if I don't like the kink, I don't make the video. So anyway, side note. So yeah, he is so over the top. All of the men in the series are, but he does switch out her birth control because he wants to get her pregnant so that she will not try to leave him. So definitely manipulative, but that's the name of the game, y'all. That's the name of the game. All right, then we have another one that I talk about all the time recently because it also has like breeding kink and possessive hero, and it has a forced marriage. Like, it ticks all the boxes, and that is Unholy Vows by Mila Kane. This one is the first book in the Original Sins duet, but this one does have an HEA. I'm still waiting to see like if part 2 is also about them or not. I don't think so. This has like a full arc in it, but she writes a lot of duets in her mafia world, but this one had an HEA. So to me, this is currently a standalone until she writes more and we see. But this one we have, is this one Renato? I think this is Renato. Yep. And the heroine is Charlotte. And her sister sees some stuff she shouldn't see, gets her on the wrong side of the mob, And she tells him, my sister won't say anything. Well, then her sister can't keep her mouth shut. So he forces the older sister, Charlie, into marriage with him because he needs a wife anyway. So why not take this woman who he thinks is beautiful and feisty, and he forces her into this marriage with him. And then he needs an heir. And so he is going to make sure that that happens. And there's the breeding kink and all the things. So I've talked about this book so much, so I kind of just rolled through that a lot. But it's hot. I loved this one so much, and I hope that she puts out another one of these soon. She also has a hockey series that I'm really liking those ones too. So Millicaine, she's one of the new to me authors recently that I have absolutely loved. All right, then we have 2 books from San Mariano. Now, San Mariano also has a lot of these. So I picked 2 that I don't talk about the books as much, but like Carter does this. It's not so much tampering with birth control as he refuses to use protection with her. So it's that side of it. Also in The Boy on the Bridge, he refuses to use a condom. So there's those type of ones. But then there is also straight up Descent. This is a standalone from her. This one is Calvin and Haley, I think. And he has had his eye on her ever since, yeah, it's Hallie, ever since her ex-boyfriend like brought her to a Christmas party. Calvin's had his eyes on her. And he ends up getting his hands on her by tricking her, using her ex-boyfriend to get her into this sex club. And the sex club is where you can set up these different sexy encounters that are like primal play and consensual non-consent and stuff. So he gets her into this room and he tells her like, I'm going to fuck you and no one's going to come save you because they're going to think it's part of the act and I'm going to have you. And he's like, you're going to let me do it. And she doesn't have a choice. So he does. And then this was just supposed to be a one-time thing for him. He was going to hit it and quit it. He couldn't get her out of his mind. So he's like, I am a billionaire. I can make this happen. I'm going to get this woman and then I'll be fine. I'll be over it. Nope. He wants more of it. What I do like about this one is, to me, like, Hallie I mean, in a lot of San Mariano's heroines do this, but she is just so, like, not gonna break for him. And it can be annoying at points. It can be, because something Sam also does is the women trying to understand the psychology of these psychos who have their hands in them and try to find how to work with them. And Haley, for a lot of it, just doesn't want to play. Like, she just doesn't want to play. And that can be annoying at times, but also once in a while it is good to see someone who's just not gonna like give up. And that can be like, I like that as well, that they don't just fold right away. Even though there comes to a point in the book where if you're reading a psycho romance, you know that he's gonna win. So you just are like, lady, just chill out, you know. I don't blame her if she doesn't want to, but also just give in. Just give in. Okay, then we have her most recent release, but also I have the like original copy of it still. I haven't bought the newer one of it. So this is Sophie's Surrender. It is currently just Surrender. It was re-released as just Surrender, but this is book 3 in the Coastal Elites. It's 3 or 4. Actually, it's number 4. I think it's number 4 in Coastal Elites. And this one is about Sylvan and Sophie. And they meet at a Halloween party when he's actually dressed like a Viking. And if you see the cover of Surrender, he has like the long shaved hair and it looks super hot. And they meet at a Halloween party and he ends up forcing her to like give him a blowjob or else he was going to fuck her. Seems very similar to someone we've known before, doesn't it? And then he's obsessed with her. He had like never seen her before and he's obsessed with her. Now, the way that Sylvan's still a bit endearing in this way is that this is kind of like a second generational thing. Like his father also instantly fell in love with the mother and took her for his own. And so the father is also messed up like this. Okay. So when Sylvan gets his hands on Sophie and actually like kind of takes her captive in his home, the father is not going to help her get away. And he's like, you should give in to my son. Because if you don't give in to my son, if you don't let him have you, if you try to make trouble, you're not you're not going to live too long. Like, he straight up says that to her. So this isn't a case of one of the stories where, like, if the heroine would just be willing to tell someone, it would be okay. Like, that's not going to happen for her. Like, it's not going to happen for her. She either has to give in to this or die kind of thing. So, yeah. But at the same time, Sylvan is kind of like the sweetest one that I've read in this series, like, because he believes in love at first sight, you know, where, yes, he's Delulu in that, but, like, Carter doesn't think he's in love with Zoe, okay? You know, Landon does also really care about Parker, but, you know, they don't think they're instantly in love. They just think they're obsessed, or they want to fuck the girl, or they want to own her. He sees himself as being in love with her right away, which is kind of cute, okay? It's kind of cute, even though he's a psycho. And yes, he does tamper with her birth control because he wants to keep her with him by getting her pregnant. We see a theme. Then the last one that I want to share, and this is the one where the woman does some tampering. This is a very controversial book, but it fits in here because all of these are controversial because of tampering with birth control in some way. And I just wanted to put this in to offer like a contrast to all of these, okay? I'm smiling bigger than I should. So a book that has a type of birth control tampering is The Duke and I. And if you know, you know, okay? So there is a very controversial scene in here. This isn't a dark romance. This is a historical marriage of convenience, brother's best friend type of romance. Like, it's not supposed to exist in here. So I can understand why it doesn't have the same like wacky vibes. However, in this story, the scene that has the birth control tampering is a very, as I said, very controversial scene where, you know, Simon has decided he never wants to have children, but he still likes fucking his wife. Also, Daphne has been kept so innocent, we're supposed to believe, that she doesn't understand how pregnancy happened. She just assumes that sleeping with her husband will eventually lead to her having a baby because that's what happens in her family. I know we have to buy in that she's super naive, but we can believe some people would. It's possible. And she's also the oldest sister, and if the mom is too chicken to tell her, you know, like, there's things we can believe. And so what Simon has been doing is he's been doing the pull-out method because he still wants to fuck his wife, but he's been doing the pull-out method. And when Daphne finally figures out what's happening, they have this big fight. And Simon had always said he couldn't have children, and she felt that as, oh, there's something wrong, we can't have children. Not, he doesn't want to have children because he doesn't want his father to have had an heir. His father's already dead because he's the Duke, but he so much wants to spite his father that he doesn't want to have children, which, again, they could have communicated better about this. But once she discovers that the reason she won't have a chance to have a child isn't because he is like impotent or something, it's because he is trying to spite his father, who's dead and would never know, she becomes pretty upset. And there's a scene in here where he's drunk and he comes trying to apologize to her. He's almost breaking in her room and he ends up coming in, and so he falls asleep on her bed, and she ends up, like, they start having sex almost while he's kind of sleeping, and he's waking up to her riding him, and she doesn't let him pull out. She doesn't let him pull out when he comes. And he feels very betrayed by this, which, again, with birth control tampering, you absolutely can feel betrayed by this. Again, I just want to put it in this video because I think it's fascinating to go on the other side of it. And I'm sure there are more books where, you know, someone has like poked a hole in a condom or whatever, but I don't know many where like it's the heroine who do that. It usually would be a woman who is trying to trap the hero, and that wouldn't be the heroine, you know, because there are other books where the hero has a baby because she poked a hole in it or she wasn't really taking her birth control. All of these stories that I put in here, those dark ones and this one, are ones where like the one who wants the baby is making sure that there's birth control involved and the other person finds a way to usurp it, right? So in all those dark romances, that's the women who are like, oh, I have the shot, or oh, I'm taking the pill. And the man finds a way to either cut her off from that or throw them away or switch them out so she doesn't know. And in this one we have, she doesn't let him do his form of birth control, which is the thing that he can control, which is to pull out, even though that's not fully effective anyway, and it could have happened anyway. So I would consider that a type of tampering with birth control. What do you think? And yes, plenty of people will say, I don't consider that, I consider it assault. Well, we won't be saying that on this channel because all of these involve assault. So Daphne doesn't get a free pass for that either, but that's a whole nother conversation. So anyway, you Twisted Taboo people watching this, let me know some of your recommendations that involve tampering. As I said, I have 2 videos that have breeding kink, and I have a whole playlist that has taboo and dark romances, so you can check out that playlist. Go ahead and binge some books. If you want to purchase any of the books I've talked about, there will be links down below. It does help the channel if you use them, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.